Oh no! Phew! A typewriter, I'm safe. These zombies can't kill me when I've got a typewriter. Oh! Hi there. Didn't see you there. Thanks for stopping by again. Last time we tackled a pilot episode of a CC modcast with my friend here, Yoshi Knuckles in North America. Basically referring to what you're going to need to get started, tools and a bit of a budget to get on with. So really had fun doing that. Thanks very much, mate. And make sure to check his YouTube channel out at Yoshi Knuckles. Anyway, moving forward, we were doing the PSP home console a couple of episodes ago, and we left off where we were testing our prototype controller layout. Now it's finished here, and I'll go into some brief details on how to do the finer touches on this, but today's episode is going to focus around getting your video output. Now you might say to me, well Jared, this is really simple, it's just plug and play, right? Well no, actually it's not, because you have to get the audio and video jack into the little PS2 original AV adapter harness for your composite or component video output. Now that sounds really simple, but the length of the lead is like 3 meters, so we're going to have to shorten it right down and rejunction it back in and do some other things like that, along with getting prepared for putting the UMD drawer in and getting ready for where we're going to need to put the memory card slot. Anyway, so now I've got your attention. Sit down, relax, enjoy, and tuck in for another episode of Do-It-Yourself At-Home Modifications with your host Jared from Retro Evolutions. Thanks for stopping by. Last time we were actually dealing with the PSP, we were actually working on these FFC type connections, right? And chopping them to the appropriate cores, splicing wires out of them so that we could get them all to where we've come here for our input type harness, for a controller in other words. Now where you have the issues arising is with strain relief. They're quite strong, but all the weight from these hanging over and stuff etc here is causing a bit of sag on these, so I've just put some strain relief on these to help actually compensate the original strain relief, because they were never meant to be designed like this, and the PSP shell comes over the top of it, right? So it's not perfect, but Yoshi and I are actually working on building a plug and play harness for all you at home, so you can just bring an FCC type connection with the compatible amount of course cut on each side, and it'll have a little breakout board for you to solder wires onto, like a PCB itself, and it'll be a lot easier for all you at home. So watching this, if you're stressing out a bit, I wouldn't. It's just going to keep getting easier for you at home, but this is just the original way we're going to be doing it for now. Anyway, so where we were at is getting the video done. Now what you're looking at here is this harness that I modified out of the PS2 originally, right? PS2 Slim to be exact. And here is the component or composite style video jack. Now we're going to have this right here, right? And it's going to fix down. Now what you're going to find is the PSP lead's all good, but if you want a true plug and play harness, you're going to have to be able to disconnect and reconnect it. Now that's not going to ever work with the current state that you've got the PSP in with this little jack here. So we're going to have to reduce this down, because it's about 3 meters this lead. So anyway, I'll bring you over to what the boards look like with a 1000 versus a 2000 series, and let you know what you need to have if you want to perform this part of the mod yourself. Noting that I already said at the very start, make sure we have a 2000 or 3000 series, but I'm actually going to show you the noticeable comparable differences now. Anyway, so I'll get over to that, and then we'll just work our way into modifying the leads and doing the boards. Alright, on the left we have the 1000 series board with no video output component or composite respectively, so this is no good for this one, but we're going to use it for parts because it's a dead for the memory card slot. Anyway, here's a perfectly good one. Now here's what we're looking for: the component input jack and an audio jack. It's all in one here, so I'll actually show you how it all connects up your audio left and right comes out here. I'm assuming one of these is the ground, and then 5 here, and then you plug in. So anyway, the thing you want to do is shorten this right down, because you're only going to really need 100 to 200 millimeters here. So I'll get into how we're going to break into this section now, and that's the little PSP box breakout connector that PlayStation has put on the end of these cables to give you your component style output. Starting off, you want to get it so the Sony side is facing you, okay? To get these open, because they do have no actual screws in them, you're going to have to pop them. So get some precision side cutters and just pinch the corners together. If you do it right, you'll hear a popping sound like just what happened then. And we just peel that off. And what you're going to want to do next is grab yourself, now you got your smallest Phillips screwdriver you probably have in your kit. You're going to unscrew it right here. One screw there, and the whole unit should be able to pull out. Just grab it the left and right. Other way around, I said my left and right wrong. Right, now I'll orientate this and show you a diagram that I've prepared earlier. So I've labelled it 1 to 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which is a display of this. This is this little board here, flipped upside down. The blue wire is a reference of which orientation it is, but if you look at the way these capacitors are lined out, generally they'll, hopefully they're all the same, but anyway, this is your example, okay? But this definition pattern will never change, so we'll use that as a reference as well. But there's a blue wire here. Anyway, I'm going to get stuck in and meter it all out. Sit back and enjoy while we get it all set up. That must be a ground because they're linked. Just made an alteration there. So 7 is up here. 9. Okay, that's that whole side done. So we can actually begin to chop this down to about here, bring all those wires out and solder it back onto there, giving us enough length to reach these out back to the board. Right, so doing the output side is going to be the more simple one. We're just going to basically chop the ends of these leads off, label what they are so we know what we are, and leave about yay much on them so that we can go into the PCB jack on the other side and go from there. So I'll get them all labelled up and I'll be back with you in a sec. So these have all been cut off, and here, and we have white and red clearly labelled so we know they're the audio channels, but red, blue and green, and then all these little shields or grounds or whatever you guys want to call them, ground wires. Now they're all going to be linked together into one, and then one wire is going to come out, or you can just grab this end and bridge all those out and bring one wire off there if you wish. Either way it'll work the same. So anyway, now that we've pinned this all out and I've shown you, we're going to shorten it down to about that long, right? And then we're going to put our end back on there, solder it on, and plug it in and have a bit of a play, and then we'll go into doing the controller, the rest of what was done, which you didn't see on last episode. So now I have the cable stripped. What you're going to want to do is get your red and the white and strip it about 10mm forward and bring the sheathing up about 2mm, and I'll show you why in a second. Now that you have carefully stripped this back, you will reveal that there's actually another ground internal of these cables. So what you're going to do is twist them together carefully and put another sheave on this. This is your ground for your audio, left and right, and the red and the white respectively. So I'll get that all set up now for you and I'll show you. Now you're carefully going to re-sheave this ground that I've twisted together with a bigger piece of cable, usually like 2mm or something like that. Something will slide over, or if you've got shrink tubing, that will work equally as well. I'll just put this on and then we'll start on these ones. And there's the blue sheet on that one. So we're going to repeat the same steps with all these and I'll show you what we do next. The same thing again, strip the orange, green and blue and get those to do the same thing with the grounding shields, okay? And we'll put them all together and put another sheave over those. Right, so now this one's all done, we're going to tin the wires up. So I'll just run my soldering iron along all these and get them all nice and ready so that we can fit it to this little board here, and we'll change everything out like for like so that you can't get confused as we do it. Now we've got them all tinned, we're going to start by desoldering this, the red and the white. What I'll do to get these free is put fresh pools of solder on them and a bit of flux, make them melt out good so that we can get those wires off nice and easy. Okay, I'll be back with you in a sec. So the sound is on. Now we're going to start right now by doing the red, green, blue and the little black drain wire that comes out of here as well. Alright, so I'll get on to doing that bit next, but I'll disconnect all these first. Okay, so I've cut these off. So now all I'm going to do is get the 4 solder dots on here and do them across the top. Some of these come across the bottom to make it easier for a bit of room here, because they're quite short, so that they don't have any possibility of shorts and stuff without the factory sheathing. Alright, I'll get that in situ now and I'll start soldering them on. Right, so that's all done now, and it's all linked in place good. So I'm just going to put a line of hot melt along it just so nothing moves, because it's all really short, and the shields so they can't slide up and down and expose against other stuff, just for safety, so this thing never shits itself. And now we're going to actually connect this to the PS2 board itself. So I'll get the glue on, but when you see me next we'll be actually putting it on the PS2 board. So what you're looking at now is the PlayStation 2 cutout sectional board that I did in part 1, and you'll see the modified power jack that's been moved over to here and our AV multi out here. Now I've drawn a representation of what's going in here, right, and these are the pins as you're looking at it, and the AV plugs facing down. So what we're going to do is plug the AV lead into the back of this like that, and the reason you do that is so that you can get the pin outs on the other side of this to correspond it to what pins are what. Yeah, you could look up on the net, but let's do it here for some fun, eh? And then we'll wire our corresponding colours off that lead we just made onto this and put it back into the PlayStation Portable 2 and actually give it a bit of a go and see if it all fires up. Gives us a good signal. Then we'll get into doing a bit more controller work, and I'll show you how that all came together. Right, the first one I'm going to do is the red non-audio. I'm going to actually check that out and see which one it goes to. Then I'll specify it on a little drawing down here for you. So the red non-audio goes to here. I need a bit. I'm going to call that R. Now the blue one, we'll check for the blue one. So that blue one is here. Now we're going to do our green one. So it's definitely that one. That's green. I'll make it GREEN so we don't confuse it with the ground. That's going to go here. Right, let's do the audio left and right. So I already know where the white comes in because I've done these before, but we'll just check on film. and that is the white one here. Put a W for that one. So we got the final one, and that's the audio red, or left or right, whichever way you want to put it around. So that one, I'm going to call it AR for audio red. Okay. Now what I'm going to do next is just check out the rings on these and just see where we get a ground come in. It's here. This is the white G, white ground. Next we're going to do the audio red ground. So see where that comes to. The same. So that, I'm assuming, looking at this, that the rest will start coming off this same pin, or the red, blue and green will come off a different pin, but I'm going to just check that. Now, next I'm going to do the blue ground, so we're going to pin that out here. Okay, so it's this one. I may be wrong, it may be all individual. Okay, I'll do the red video ground. RG is here. And the last one to do is the green. Green ground goes on the same one. Okay. Just going to double check that red one because that was a bit on its own there. See if it's okay. So they're all tied together, these ones. That's a grounding plane. Right. Gonna fit this all out now, and I'll be back. And what we'll do is we'll put it in and we'll test it on the controller and actually have a bit of a play on the PlayStation 2 portable, and we'll go from there and show you how the controller has progressed since the last episode. Okay, so these three are soldered on, the green, the red and the blue. I'm going to take this ground that I've twisted all three together of those, and I'm going to bring it over to either one of these ground tracks here. What you've seen before, the BG, the GG or the RG, these far two bottom ones here, and solder that on, and then we're going to do the audio next. So now I've put all these wires on and soldered them on nice and neat. I've put a bit of resin behind it for a bit of strain relief, because I don't want it to fall off. And to be honest with you, if I send this over the other side of the world and it comes off, if someone yanks it, like opening it up to have a look at it, I'd be pretty gutted. So I'm just going to take that extra step. Right, so now I've just soldered all the grounds together onto here, because I actually found those were all commoned up, as I thought they would be anyway. But so we'll just bring it to a pad that I've scraped back to the ground plane just to make it nice and out of the way for everything. I'll put my strain relief behind here, and I'll place this back in the console, and we'll go upstairs and turn it on. So now, as you can see, it's true plug and play. You just plug in the back AV multi out and the power in, and we have a controller that plugs in as well. So now I was saying again, let's go up and test it, and we'll see how it all goes, eh? So I've gone freehand for this one, so just bear with me if the camera's a bit shaky. But anyway, we'll come over to the unit, power supply on. Now we just need to flick our little switch on, which we'll wire out later on. But if we get in, well, there you go. If we get the audio out sound, we know that the unit's going to work. So we'll come over to it now. And I'll just select the video output and we'll have a look. Right, so we're going to select, do you want to change the video output out of this jack? And there you go. It works. Sorry, I'll just... Right. Now what I'll do is put the game in and we'll see if it all fires up. Just found the UMD. There we go. Now let's press X and fire it up. And the audio's come through beautiful. So this is pretty exciting. See if it all loads up for us. But don't see why not. I'll just pause it for a minute. Wait for it to get through all the garbage. Oh yeah, no, perfect. Audio's coming through perfect. Everything's perfect. My controller's responding. It's all good, but you're gonna have to wait till we see some gameplay later on.
I heard you had something important to tell me.
Anyway, let's go back down and show you how we made the controller. Right, so now we confirm the video harness is gonna work. We're just gonna go through how you're gonna actually bring the wiring into this controller, right? Now you must be wondering by now, oh hang on a minute, you can't be selecting the screen every single time we want to get a video output. Well, that's where the shoulder buttons come in. PlayStation Portable only runs an L1 and an R1. We've actually got an R2 and an L2 available, plus an R3 on the analog stick and the analog button. So we're going to use R2 and hold it down for 3 seconds on the digital output display button on the front of the PSP. That will come through to the controller, and that will therefore mean that as you turn it on, hold it down for 3 seconds when the console starts up, and you will have it displaying on your TV. That bypasses all the need for you to have to view the screen ever again, because quite frankly the screen has to stay in as an integral part of this modification for it to run. So anyway, let's get into this part of it, and I'll just quickly show you before the end of the episode how and where the pins go to. But if you follow from episode 3, episode 2, you'll know all these wires based on the harnesses I was talking about. Okay, so anyway, let's get stuck into that. Alright, so you're going to start out with the 25 pin harness as you see on the end of the controller. Now what you're going to do is from episode 3, all those wires you pinned out of the harness you're going to take out and bring it across, right? So we were going to do this any way you want, but generally I want to try and keep them in banks, okay? So the analog joystick consists of 4, and that's an up, a down, a left, a right, a ground, and a VCC, which is a voltage input, okay? So that's your 4 for that, so group those 4 together. Keep it nice and tidy this way. Then next, what you're going to want to have up the harness from what you would have bought before is your D-pad, which consists of a left, a right, an up, a down. Then you have the R, which is the R trigger, and then the ground. Okay, so that's another 6. But keep into mind, you don't actually need to have separate grounds for all these, but for fault finding purposes and going through it and continuity of how it was actually wired out on the device originally to keep it spec, I've run individual grounds per all of them, but realistically you could all run them down one pin like this one and they would all be fine. The only thing I would do if that was you, if you were going to choose to do that, would be to increase the size of your conductor for the ground to maybe at least double or triple of the 30 AWG kind of wire, just to deal with that load if you're bringing all of it down the one ground. That's why I think they've been running doubles. Okay, next you've got what looks like start, select, home, And this is probably the most important one to the whole mod right here. That's display out. So that's going to be the one we're going to hold down for 3 seconds on the R2 on the controller. Then you're going to have a ground, GRND there. Okay, so that's going to consist of those ones. I've just changed it to black pen to make the segments more clear. So you've got 5 on that one. You could have the volume up and down, like say left and right, up and down on the right joystick, but I'm not going to bother. I'm going to have that set to about midway and let the TV control your volume. And last but not least, you've got these ones here, the triangle, the square, the circle, and the X, and the R1, and the ground. So then there's another 5 there, leaving you 4 pins spare, so if you ever want to run anything else, an auxiliary, like you could have your volume up, your volume down out here, or brightness adjustment, all sorts of other things, whatever you want to do. I'm not using the music feature. You can access that from the home button anyway, so this thing's generally going to be used as a console. If you really want to do that, you can. Anyway, so that's the general layout of your harness. So bring all those wires to the back of this harness and solder on each pin. There'll be 25 in total, and you just follow off what we did in episode 3 for the back of the controller, and you'll end up with something like this, and you're good to go. So hopefully that helped you out. We're just going to go over the last few little things which we're going to take care of in the next episode, and we'll leave you out there with some end credits. So now we're down to the little odd jobs and cleaning wire away. We're going to have to get the system accessible externally and the removable memory, the SD card. So in the next episode, what we're going to take care of doing, desoldering this, extending the wiring out, and actually bringing it in and putting it in a slot where the player 1 controller used to be, because this is actually in player 2. Right, and then the part you're all probably waiting for, which is the coolest and sexiest part, is the UMD drawer that's going to get cut into here. And there's quite a bit of work involved in that, I won't lie, so we'll get that all set up for you, and then that's it. We'll wrap up part 5, and that will be the PSP home console complete. So thanks very much for stopping by again, and if you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and all your comments are appreciated. So any feedback or suggestions, anything you'd like to see done, please don't forget to write down there, and I'll see you next time. Thanks very much for stopping by.
Hey guys, this is Chris from Paradise Walk. You've been watching Retro Revolutions.